Hello and welcome to Tigrai TV. This is another edition of Direct Talk. In this edition, I'm joined with Yemane Zeray, Commissioner for the Commission of Inquiry into the Tigray Genocide. I'm Sabla Lama, and I'm your host for the day. Do stay tuned. Yemane, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, I want to ask you, what is the objective of the Commission? And I also want you to answer what you've been tasked with.
Thank you. We all know that the war on Tigray, waged on Tigray and its people, have very damaging consequences. And the war, with the preliminary assessment and preliminary data gathered so far, has a nature of criminal actions and behaviors which are to be labeled as international crimes. Though the conclusion is to be made after full research and investigation and after full inquiry, such preliminary data show, we believe, that the international crimes have been committed. The international crimes are not only to be seen as genocide, but there are indications that genocide have been committed on Tigray and its people. War crimes have been committed, and also crimes against humanity, and to some extent crime of aggression is also committed on Tigray as a unit and its people everywhere. So this has to be fully investigated, fully to be researched, and need to be documented. So the Commission is established first to have a clear scientific research to gather the data on the damage of the war, and also to investigate so that we can identify which crimes are crimes committed as a genocide, which crimes are crimes as war crimes, and so on. Secondly, those things should be documented clearly so that we can use these data for reconstructing and rehabilitating Tigray. We cannot continue as we have now. We have to reconstruct, we have to rehabilitate the different damages that are followed by the war. Thirdly, those documented data should be used for justice purpose. We need to bring justice, whether it is at a local level, national or international level. We believe that the crimes committed, the atrocities happened in Tigray are international crimes. So it is also up to the international community to deal with these atrocities. But we cannot wait the international community to act on these things. We have seen that the response of the international community is not as fast as the atrocities happening to Tigray, and the damage which are being followed, and the losses which are still continuing in Tigray and also on its people, whether it is in Tigray or outside of Tigray. Still, we are living in a continued genocidal and other acts of siege and complete encirclement, where we cannot have enough food, medicine, and other things which are needed for continuing life. We are losing life, we are losing properties, and still we are observing suffering of the people. So, though the international community, we need the international community to observe these things, to understand these things, and act upon these things. The first thing that we need to make a research on and document those things is for our purpose. If the international community is in need of understanding the situation, we need to have also the clear data. We need to know the truth, which can convince us first, and then which can make us convince the international community, so that the international community can help us in the reconstruction of Tigray, in the rehabilitation of Tigray. The international community can help us in bringing justice to the people. And the international community can help us in compensating the losses that we are facing these days. We know the losses the people are facing these days cannot be totally compensated, but at least justice and truth should prevail. So the international community should know these truths and at least should recognize what we are facing these days, and as much as possible should be able to compensate it. And lastly, we have to document those things, those data as a truth, so that we can pass to the next generation in historical form. We cannot we cannot sustain repeated actions of such type of atrocities, and we cannot allow the next generation also to face such genocidal acts. We should say that never again to such acts. Never, we shouldn't also forget what has happened to the Tigray people. We are observing, and still we are living in a situation where horrible things are being done on the Tigray people, and we don't wish such things to the next generation. If we don't want such things to be repeated again, we have to know what has really happened, and we have to be able to document them in a more organized and scientific way. So the Commission is also interested with the mandate of seriously documenting and also putting the historical things in different forms, in textbooks and museum forms.
Okay. About the establishment of the Commission, which entity established it? Is it the executive branch of the government or the State Council?
The Commission is established after the Tigray Council. The Tigray Council has decided that it believes that genocidal and other international atrocities have been committed to the Tigray people. Based on that decision, the Commission is established, and the Commission is accountable to the Tigray Parliament, so that it can do its activities as much as possible independently, independent of the direct intervention of the government. So it is a commission to work for the people and government of Tigray. As case establishers, the people and government of Tigray want us to know what has really happened. We all are living here, and we know what is happening, but it should be scientifically researched, scientifically investigated, and scientifically documented and analyzed. So to do that, we need to have an independent institution, and that independent institution these days is the Commission. So the Commission is an independent institution, an independent commission accountable to the Parliament of Tigray.
Okay. How can we make the conclusion that a genocide had taken place in Tigray? What are the important identifiers? Could you please share some examples regarding the conflict in Tigray?
We are not concluding, as a commission, we are not concluding that genocide is committed. But the government of Tigray believes that there are indications, and the actions and behaviors of the perpetrators of the atrocities are crimes which are to be labeled international crimes. International crimes like genocide, international crime like war crime, international crime like crime against humanity. So all the actions, all the behaviors are not to be labeled as genocide. But the preliminary assessments and preliminary data gathered so far show that there are indications that genocide is committed on the Tigray people. An action is to be labeled as genocide according to international genocide convention on genocide and the establishment, the statute on the establishment of international criminal court, if it fulfills the 5 acts on the 4 protected groups, on the nationals, on ethnic groups, religious groups and cultural groups. And these groups are protected from 5 things: from killing, from mental and health damage, from damage on reproductive health and also reproductive processes, and also from damage of all the environment which enables you to live and continue as a life, and also from protecting the children of that society. At least 4 of the actions are documented in different cases in Tigray, whether as mass killings and atrocities, as individual separate actions. We have observed a lot of killing activities, a lot of destruction of properties, and a lot of destruction of even our environment. Not because the environment and the individuals are individuals which are fighting, but it is because they are Tigrayans. And those things are to be labeled as genocide if it is to be proved that they are done to destroy such protected group as Tigray people. Tigray people as an ethnic national group is a protected group, and as protected group, the perpetrators have performed those things to destroy that. And we can get the intentions from the different media outlets that show us why they have done that. And even there are indications that they have performed the killings, the rapings on our women because they are Tigrayans and they don't want Tigrayans to be continued as a unit of population. So we don't conclude totally that this or that action is genocide, this or that action is a war crime, this or that action is crime against humanity. But we believe that 3 of the international crimes and atrocities have been committed in Tigray, and the work of the Commission is to bring those evidences in place in a very organized way.
Okay, but there are multiple reports of atrocities that happened in other parts of Ethiopia, which are occupied by Tigray's army. So how do you believe we can distinguish between these two on what is an intent to commit genocide?
By the way, the mandate of our commission is not to be geographically limited in Tigray. All atrocities in Tigray and also on Togaris outside of Tigray are to be researched and to be inquired. And we believe that the genocidal act and the behaviors for those acts are not started in the war, the direct war waged in 2020. It is beyond that. It is before that the perpetrators were organizing themselves, inciting the people toward such hate activities and hate behaviors. So we have to also study the genocidal acts and behaviors on Tagaruts outside of Tigray, especially in Ethiopia. It is not only in Ethiopia, even outside of Ethiopia, there are indications that Tagaruts are being becoming victims of such actions and behaviors. So it is not the place which gives you whether that action or behavior is genocidal or not. It is the action itself. It is the intention of the action which can show whether that action is genocidal or not, whether that action is a war crime or not, whether that action is a crime against humanity or not. For the genocide, if it is done on Tagaru, because it is being committed to make Tagarus become a victim, and to make Tagarus be to make the protected group a victim. So we can say that it is a genocidal one. So it is not the geography, it is not the time even which can give you whether that is genocide or not.
Okay. After the UN Human Rights Council established an international commission to investigate the atrocities in Tigray, in mid-December, the Council's president appointed three commissioners to lead the investigation earlier this week. What do you believe your working relationship would be with this entity? As Tagarus, and now me as head of the commission, we believe that the international community is not doing as expected, as the degree of the damage and the losses that we are having these days. We believe that the crimes committed in Tigray are international crimes. So it is also up to the international community to deal with such issues. We all know that the international community has legal and moral responsibility to protect the people in every corner of the world. Especially in 2005, the responsibility to protect has been, the Convention on the Responsibility to Protect has been advocated, and the international community was not active enough, even now, to fulfill its responsibility, especially the UN as a major global international organization. It was firstly silent. If not silent, it was so slow to act and to talk about these issues. It is lately that the UN Human Rights Higher Commission showed a sign that there are international claims of international crimes committed in Tigray, so they want to investigate the issue. But the process of investigation was not good. They have done it with the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, which was rather part of the government committing that crime, and the result was not good. And many international actors, individuals and institutions have opposed the result of that investigation. And luckily enough, the UN has become active and at least in its Human Rights Council agreed to re-investigate the issue. And we are happy that the UN has decided on such issue. And the UN will, I hope, will try to, as much as possible, to become neutral and impartial enough to see the truths. And we are working to get the truth. We are working to have a scientific research on the issue and to bring the clear data on hand. And if they are to ask us on such issue, we'll provide them the truths, the clear data that we are having at these days. Otherwise, we are not researching the issues. We are not investigating the issues as a primary target for focusing on the UN Council. We are working this things first for ourselves so that we can know the truth. Then, if the international community, including the newly being established commission, is to require such data, we'll be so happy to work with them. Okay, earlier you mentioned that your study will not be geographically limited, but I want to ask you, do you even believe the Commission will be allowed to conduct an independent investigation into the atrocities, especially owing to the fact that the Ethiopian government is yet to accept the decision of the United Nations Human Rights Council? And what would it mean for the possibility of accountability into the atrocities committed in Tigray?
I think such things may depend on not only on the legal processes and statuses, but on the political process and negotiations. So it will be a matter of the political negotiations that the international organizations will do, international powers will do, and also the political status and the result of the Tigray struggle will bring. But for our case, we'll try our best to get evidences from every corner of the world which shows atrocities on Tagarus. We'll try our best to have partners which works on international investigations, which works for truth and justice. And I hope there are lots of partners which stands for truth, which stands for justice, justice for every humanity in every corner of the world. So that it may not be easy one. It may not be as easy as we do in Tigray, but we'll try our best to get the data outside of the realm of Tigray in using different manners. And that's why we need a lot of partners. We need, whether they are in Ethiopia or not, international partners and national and local partners to provide us what they have at hand and what they can get also in the future. Otherwise, we don't believe that we can get everything by ourselves. We need the participation of the people at every corner of Tigray. We need the partnership of the diaspora Tagarus in Tigray. We know that there are lots of Tigray networks and lovers of Tigray also, which are not Tagarus, from the different part of Ethiopia and different part of the world, which are working towards getting the truth on what has happened. This is a crime on humanity. This is a crime if we don't stop it, which can continue to other parts of the world, let alone the other part of Ethiopia. It can extend to the other part of the world. So we have to be able to work hard and work together so that the world can learn from Tigray. The world has failed to learn from Rwanda. The world has failed to learn from Yugoslavia. The world has failed to learn from Darfur, and it shouldn't fail to learn from Tigray. We are seeing these days that a war has continued also in Ukraine and Russia. This is one indication that the international system and international actors have failed in Tigray, and it has extended just within months. If the international community was to be strong enough as community, the international powers and actors are to be strong enough as a community of humanity, they may have avoided such holocausts which are still extending in different parts of the world, but in a worst form still in Tigray. In a worst form still in Tigray. Millions of people are under siege, without food, without electricity, without communication, without finance, and without medication. Millions are in a verge of dying without the world observing them. But it will observe, if it continues ignoring it, it will observe under its eyes, in front of it, and in its neighbor, as is happening in Europe these days. So everybody, firstly, as human being, should act and help Tigray and Tagarus. Secondly, Tagarus everywhere should stand together to make these things be clear to ourselves, to the world, and also to the future generation.
Okay, so as a commissioner, what would your message be to the international community, to the actors, to the important actors, in terms of bringing the perpetrators to justice?
As I have said, this act shouldn't be repeated to everywhere in the world, and also to the next generation. It should stop here. The sufferings that we are in is very enough one. So to make these things, to be sure that these things are not to be repeated again, we have to be clear first at what has happened. Secondly, perpetrators should come to justice, to the arena of justice, there should be accountability. The accountability is at least to bring justice to the victims. Secondly, perpetrators should be punished, should learn from their mistakes so that they can, as human beings, I believe that human beings, whether they are criminals or not, can learn something. So they should be able to learn from their mistakes, but they have to know what their mistake is. So the international community should help us to clearly investigate this issue, then to bring this issue into the justice arena if possible, at the international level, if not to help us to bring such perpetrators to the local arenas.
Okay. Yemane Zeray, Commissioner of the Commission of Inquiry to the Tigray Genocide, thank you so much for being here with us. That's it for me.
Thank you very much.
That wraps up today's Direct Talk, and thank you for tuning in. See you back here next time with another guest. Bye for now.